Welcome to the Pride Perspectives radio show. Today, our show is focusing on the Rainbow Connections and LGBTQ plus support in Monterey County with Kacey Rodenbush and Sam Gomez. All right, my name's Cece Pinero and my pronouns are she, her. Our Pride Perspectives radio show is here on K-Squid every other Sunday from 5 to 6. Find all recordings and updates on the Santa Cruz Pride website, santacruzpride.org. And I'm here tonight without Rob. No Rob as my co-host tonight. So just me and Kacey, and later on Sam will be coming in later. So our show is guided by the following beliefs. We believe that Santa Cruz County is thriving partly because of the contributions of LGBTQ plus people, and LGBTQ plus people in Santa Cruz County are thriving because of the broader Santa Cruz County. We believe in the words of Jewish poet Emma Lazarus that none of us are free until all of us are free. On the show, you will hear us refer to queer history and LGBTQ plus history. For us, these terms are interchangeable and refer to people who identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, anywhere on the gender identity spectrum, and who they are attracted to. All are welcome to be part of this radio show. Our last show, we talked with Riley Nicholson, who is the executive director of the Cabrillo Festival of Contemporary Music, and also Sean Shepard, who's a composer. As we talked with both of them, we learned about how their queerness informs their creativity in music. The Cabrillo Festival Orchestra will be performing one of Sean's compositions called Wanderlust, that is an homage to movement and belonging, and a West Coast premiere. The festival this year is called We the Dreamers and features 4 world premiere festival commissions, 8 West Coast premieres, and 2 U.S. premieres, brought to life by a dynamic global roster of over 20 composers and an extraordinary array of guest artists. We the Dreamers is both an invitation and a responsibility, and we are asking how music can help imagine a more expansive we. The performances began on July 26th, and there are free rehearsals that anyone can attend, and then a series of paid concerts that culminates with the grand finale show on August 9th, entitled Hope is Our Banner. Check out the Cabrillo Music Festival website for the many ways you can join in the events. In addition, there's a special rainbow reception co-sponsored by the Santa Cruz Pride that will take place on August 9th prior to the concert. See the Santa Cruz Pride website for details about how you can sign up and receive a discount for the final concert. We're going to take a short break and then talk with Kacey Rodenbush, who oversees the Rainbow Connections mental health program in Monterey County. You're listening to Pride Perspectives radio show on K-Squid. Welcome back to the Pride Perspectives radio show on K-Squid. Our show today is titled Rainbow Connections and LGBTQ plus support in Monterey County with Kacey Rodenbush and Sam Gomez. And you just heard the Little River Band playing Help is on His Way, and Kacey is here as our bright and shining hope and so helpful, and she's here to tell us all about the Rainbow Connections mental health program in Monterey County. Welcome, Kacey, and she is the coordinator of the Rainbow Connections mental health program. So welcome, Kacey. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
And I'll start a little bit with asking you, can you share a little bit about where you grew up, where you attended school, and what school was like for you?
I grew up in Texas, small towns, one town, Conroe, which is right outside of Houston, a little town. And then I spent my middle school and high school years in Lewisville, Texas, which is right outside of Dallas. So my experience in school was really pretty much a bubble. I didn't really have exposure in that area of Texas to any diversity at all. So my experience with peers and academically, I did well. I was well adjusted and had lots of friends and did all the things, did all the homecoming and played soccer and student council, all the things. So it was a wonderful experience. I was super grateful to be born and raised in Texas. Those are my roots, and they will always be my roots. And I was raised to be a kind human. So
You and Brene Brown.
yes, 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 it's ingrained
Yeah.
there in Texas.
Very good. So, so in Texas, were you guys taught abstinence only in high school? Or did you have any kind of health education, or did you have any mental health education?
We had zero mental health education. That wasn't a thing at all. Health education, that was required. I remember the really awkward middle school experience of them separating us into groups of boys and girls and going into different classrooms and learning about reproduction in that way. But there was no talk of, any diversity outside of heteronormative cisgender. I had
And
no
what
exposure.
year was that?
This was, I was born in 1972, so I was growing up in the 70s and early 80s.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think, because it was the 60s here in California that was happening, where the girls and boys were separated, but it was early 70s, I think, that all changed.
Yes.
So Texas probably, hopefully, has changed a little bit now, but California, and especially here in Santa Cruz. I mean, I'm talking about Santa Cruz for sure. Probably San Francisco. There might be other places in California that weren't picking up on that as fast. But
Yes.
But anyway, well, thanks for that. So can you share how you identify, and then a little bit about your story?
Yes. At this point in my life, I'm 54, and I've had relationships.
And there's so much more.
There is so much more. I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just getting started.
Yes.
When I was in Texas, the only thing I knew was dating boys. I didn't know anything. I was not exposed to anyone in a same-sex relationship or any difference in gender at all. So it wasn't until I moved to California, when I came to California, then my eyes were wide open, and I was exposed to new things. And then I fell in love with a woman. And then that was really turned my whole everything upside down, just everything that I knew to be what I thought to be me. And then I got married to a woman and had a very long-term relationship. And then, so now at this point in my life, that acronym is very important, LGBTQIA2S plus, 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 plus. And for me, at this point in my life, I feel like it's just me. And maybe 5 years ago I said queer, but for now it's me. And I just love people. I love souls.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm moving through the world.
That's so good. That's beautiful. That's what I think that we all, I think labels and identifying is important for a certain phase and
Yes.
certain like equality, or even like how the LGBTQ plus community took back the pink triangle that
Yes.
was used against us, so there's certain things that are really important as far as identifying. I used to call myself a radical lesbian feminist because, that's who I was. It's like, or that was, what I was doing just seemed like that's what was happening. But, and then I was a single lesbian mom.
Right.
And I didn't have there was no radical, right?
Right.
And there certainly was feminist, but it didn't feel like I was in the feminist movement or anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I've changed a lot of, how I identify as time goes on, right? So, and it's really great that we get to do that.
We get to do
I
that.
think the young people have helped us.
They have.
They're
They
like,
know.
it's not like that. Like I have a friend whose son came out and was trying to come out or whatever, and she said, well, so are you gay? We don't even label ourselves anymore, Don't have to label it,
Yes. It's much more progressive now, for sure.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. So how did you end up in Monterey and doing the work that you're doing?
Well, I went to graduate school and went to therapy school, and I had finished up all my bachelor's and was looking for a focus. And so when I went to graduate school, I did my practicum, and then I took a little break so I could have my daughter. And then when it came time to go back to finish all my hours to get my license, I was looking for a job everywhere. I was just sent so many resumes out, and I couldn't really, nothing was coming back. It was a time where there was a freeze and just not a lot of hiring going on. So it was like 2007. And the one nonprofit agency in Monterey County was the only one that called me and said, "Would you like to come and interview?" I was like, "Yes." So, and it was a community mental health nonprofit agency. So I took it because I was just wanted to get moving with my hours. And then that agency ended up working in another nonprofit agency in Monterey County, and both of those agencies contracted with the county behavioral health. So I worked regularly with the social workers and the therapists, and so I got to know all of them as a nonprofit provider. And I was always like, "How do you get into this place? Like, what's the secret?" Because it seemed impossible to get into the county.
Right.
And I got into the county, and I was hired to help start a wraparound program for students with individual education plans, IEPs, and special education, to help them, home-based program to help them stay at home so they didn't need to go to a residential facility out of county. So I was hired as a clinician, and then there was a whole trajectory that happened after that.
That's very cool. Did you get to go to people's houses? And
I went to many houses, in and out of many homes in Monterey County, all across the county, from King City and Bradley all the way to Carmel and Big Sur, even sometimes all of PG, Monterey.
Because Monterey County, I think, is one of the largest counties in the whole state of California.
There's 25
from the
school
Pajaro
districts.
Bridge to Greenfield.
Yes,
right.
It goes all the way to the last schoolhouse is it's either San Antonio or Bradley, so it goes almost to San Luis Obispo County, right there.
Right.
And then to Big Sur and everything in between. And we're including Salinas as the hub, as the salad bowl of one of the salad bowls of our country, where a majority of our produce is distributed to homes and tables.
Yes. Well, good work. So, so you mentioned. So, what degrees did you get to be able to get into the county? Right.
To get into the county,
Yeah.
I had a bachelor's degree, and then I went into a master's program that had a specialization in holistic studies. So we incorporated transpersonal psychology and meditation and all of that, existential, dreamy, Carl Jung stuff. And great programs, amazing. And then I needed that degree to get the license. And that, as a licensed marriage and family therapist, you need 3,000 hours of experience. So I gained my experience by going into the homes all across Monterey County.
Oh, I love that.
And when kids are being reunified with their families, either because they've been placed in dependency for child welfare reasons or for being in justice involved, then I would be the therapist going to the house, stabilizing and working with them so that they could get back into their everyday.
That's so important, that holistic approach. I had a friend who was a third grade teacher back in the probably 70s, even here in Santa Cruz, I think it was the 70s, and he was teaching meditation to the third graders, and they were going to fire him for it. And then fast forward a few years, and now we call it mindfulness.
Yes,
and
we do.
And I've hired I hired somebody to go teach mindfulness to the special ed high school kids. Good. Well, through my old job, to get them, it's important to sort of get that exposure. And it was a cool big guy with lots of tattoos, and he's in there, and the kids all paid attention to him.
They loved it. I
call
bet.
it mindfulness, and loved it. And really, really important for all of us. Take a deep breath.
Really is.
Yeah, and school could be really stressful.
It's very stressful.
Yeah, for everybody involved, it's like it's kind of one of the only places you're mandated to go.
You have to. It's an institution.
It's a lot. Yeah, and every single person has to go, no matter who they
do.
are.
And if they don't go, you go get them, and you have to find out why and get them back to school.
Yeah.
So it is mandated.
So now, what's your position now, and how long have you been there?
I was hired in 2012, and now I'm a behavioral health services manager too. So I did a little bit of supervision, was a unit supervisor for a little while, and then I moved in. I'm now beginning my 11th school year as a manager, and we serve most all the public schools in Monterey County. It varies depending on our contracts. Some districts we serve students in special education, some we serve students in general education, and some we serve both. and it's a massive operation. So the team at the program that I manage, we have about 50 clinicians, support staff that are in the public schools providing moderate to severe mental health services.
That's
for
so
those.
great.
Yes.
I love that. Now I have to tell you a story because we have a couple minutes here. But in my previous job, I wrote a grant to provide therapy
Good.
to Spanish-only speaking families.
Awesome.
And the first thing is, what is that? I don't know if I want to do it. I don't know. It sounds like some white people thing.
Right.
So therapy. So we said, well, it's free.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did a lot of Zooms to introduce it, and then they could choose to be on Zoom if that was safer, or they could choose to be in person. And we got this bilingual therapist, and everybody loved it. And then we were able to expand and do group therapy, because it's one thing talking one-on-one to a therapist, another thing to a jury of your peers or with your peers and saying all your stuff, but then they can sort of build community. Anyway, I'm really just happy to be able to provide that to Spanish-only speaking families.
Super important.
Really cool.
Yeah.
And that was a COVID thing.
It was.
It was, because I got that, because I was doing stuff like this before, and they'd say, like, go to HELLCC. We don't believe in mental health, or we're not going to fund it. Nobody was funding it till COVID.
Right.
Sorry, can I spell that? I don't know if I'm allowed. There's a lot of words we can't say here. But yeah, so it was real. That's the one thing. What is the positive thing with COVID? All of a sudden, mental health was
Front and
important,
center.
front and center. They were funding it, and I got to okay, here we go.
There's so much investment when COVID came into mental health, which was a blessing.
Yeah. So can you share a little bit about the work of the Behavioral Health Department in Monterey County?
Yes, the Behavioral Health Bureau, we serve all of the whole community. So from infancy, prenatal to when babies are born, all the way through the lifespan. I work in the youth and adolescent services, children and youth services. So I've been working in the schools the whole time. And within our children and youth services, we have a team that serves child welfare, juvenile probation, the hospitals, transitional age youth, and the early intervention team. And then we have an access program, and we have a program that serves adults. And so all across all of those systems, it's intervention for individuals that are Medi-Cal beneficiaries, undocumented and uninsured. And we do our best. We're a safety net for the community. That's
really,
what we do.
really
So
important.
any and every service that would be needed to help.
Yeah, that's so great. That's so great. Such good, important work. So how did the Rainbow Connections program develop, and what are sort of the main parts of it?
So Rainbow Connections developed from in the center of my heart. I started thinking about during COVID. I've been working in the schools for so long, and if you consider that Monterey County has 25 school districts, and building so many different relationships over the years that I've been working in the schools, I started seeing these disconnect in our systems for our LGBTQ plus youth. And where it would happen, where I would see it most, is in the emergency department, when they would either attempt suicide or they were placed on a psychiatric hold because they were thinking about suicide. And I noticed this disconnect because when this one particular youth was being discharged for some same circumstances where the parent was not supporting them at home, and then the youth would attempt suicide and then be discharged, but no one was getting to that parent to understand what's going on. Latino household, transgender young person, and pronouns, as we know, are important. They're life affirming. Names are also important, life affirming. So, and then you have layer on the typically it's Catholicism in that area, or Christianity, or those beliefs that say, and the messaging is that being gay or trans or anything that is different from what we know to be what they think is normal is they're going to go to hell. So that's the message. So I was noticing that our providers, our systems weren't detecting that need when it was happening. So I started thinking about, okay, what can I do? I can create I can replicate the program that I already know works, the project model that we were already implementing in the schools. And so I started listening into where the funding was, and the county had innovations dollars, the Mental Health Services Act innovations bucket. There was a significant amount of money in there, and they were looking for plans, for ideas, because that's the purpose of that money. So my idea was, if we created a mechanism to detect within our systems, because county behavioral health, this gets a little complicated, but county behavioral health, we serve all of those systems. We serve every one of them. So that means that when a kid's coming out of the hospital or they're being placed in dependency, that our clinicians are all involved in all of those systems. So if I could create a detection system within the county and engage our community-based providers, then we would be able to create pathways to affirming care. And so that was the big idea. It went to the state. The proposal was $7.8 million. We got the money, and that was in 2023. And so we've been going ever since.
Wow. So how long is this grant? It's a grant that you got?
It is funding. So
okay.
it's really the best. This is we're in our final year of implementation.
Okay, so this is the final
this
year.
Is it.
This is
the
it.
last
So
year.
it'll end here in 2026.
And
is it a
yes.
school year based program? So at the end of the school year.
Excuse me. Yes, because we're deeply embedded in the schools. We've had 15 school districts partner with us in this project.
That's
so
great.
it's quite amazing.
So can you tell me a little bit about how the program serves the needs of the LGBT? I mean, you kind of
Yes.
touched on it, but how
Okay.
how does it serve everybody and the adults and those who are supporting the students? And
so this is a public health model, meaning it's a universal service and support for anyone, because we're in an ecosystem. Everybody, whatever the need is, we have a support and service available through our providers. So we have 6 contracted providers. The funding flows from the state to the county, and we have contracts with all of our community-based providers. We provide support across the microsystem of the youth, which is home, school, and community. So each of those agencies has staff that work with the parents and caregivers, with the students in the schools. We have staff that train all of the adults, because there's a really big emphasis on capacity building. So the adults understand what's happening, because our number one objective is to walk alongside our young people and support them just as they are. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things that get in the way of that. So the work it's just so beautiful. And it's all, one of the biggest gifts is it's all funded. So all of the agencies that are involved, they have this gift. It's a gift to the world that we're working together. The big idea is that we interconnect our systems. Systems don't change by themselves. They require human beings to change them. So we've created human bridges between those systems. And it is multidimensional that we've actually reached our trainings. One of the biggest things I'm proud of is we've done amazing things locally and in our Tri-County area. Our trainings are online, and they have reached other countries. We've trained many people across the country as well, nationally, and across the state of California.
That's amazing.
I'm
Good
just
work.
so grateful
that
the state said yes. And also it's a relational implementation plan, meaning it's grown from people that come and say, I would like to be a part of this. And that's how it grows, because it's already built in that we share this commitment of love and our investment in our LGBTQIA2S plus youth and their families.
That's so great. So so there's a model that exists so other states could do it.
Yes.
Right. So that sounds so great. Other states, and like you said, expand everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that might be a model for the federal government to redo itself.
Right.
Yeah. See, it's like there's things out there that could work. You just got to have the willingness. Anyway, so when you retire, can you go revamp the federal government? So well, tell me about the highlights so far.
Oh my gosh, the highlights. So highlights have been really amazing to see, because when I had this idea, because I just knew it would work, because it was already working in the schools. The model was take an existing, or the criteria for the money was take an existing practice and apply it to an underserved population. So I had a model that was working, and I went around to each organization that behavioral health already was working with in the schools, The Epicenter was already working in the schools. Harmony at Home was already working in the schools. And we had Partners for Peace that we were already working with them in collaboration. So I went around and I asked them, would you do this with me? Epicenter was the only agency that had already been working specifically with the trans and queer youth population. The other two were not. And they just came along and said yes. And now it's been so beautiful to watch them embrace this work and be leaders in this work. We're starting up clubs. We start up Everyone Belongs clubs in the elementary schools. And because we've taken away this fear of like, what are they going to gay my kid? Or like, what is it, the indoctrinate? We just say, who wants to belong? And then they show up like sometimes 40 kids and they're like, I want to belong. Yeah. I want to belong. And we give them little lanyards that say everyone belongs. And they're so happy because you create an environment that's safe for them where they can be. And then some of them say, can I have a rainbow club? And then we create the rainbow club. But the starting point has been, because sometimes there's fear. There's fear in some of these areas of what's going to happen. And when you create conditions of love and acceptance and that are affirming, those kids need that don't have that at home. So we're doing, when school districts say yes, we have one district, Monterey Peninsula Unified, I want to shout out to them. They have a contract with every one of our providers.
Wow, that's great.
PK Diffenbaugh, if you're listening, I love you. And the board, all the people that make this possible. Because when they say yes, do you know how many ripples we make? Yeah. We make so many ripples together.
Infinity ripples.
So the highlights have been watching these agencies come together and work differently. And then growing, creating these safe spaces for these kids, and knowing that we are making an impact. And then watching the adults when I go into spaces, and I've never, one school district that I hadn't worked with, hadn't been in front of their leadership yet. I went and I had the opportunity to do a presentation, and I asked any of them, has anyone here heard of Rainbow Connections? And like did I mention, I started it from inside of my heart. And so to see that I've been able, just from this, there's purity here, and there's clarity. Kids belong. They are perfect just as they are. They are whole just as they are. So if we can come together in that, it's only good. Only good can happen.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and that whole connection too, feeling connected. So I belong. Yes. I feel connection, and then that is the path towards happiness.
Yes.
And then when happy people don't have to, or maybe choose not to, do other destructive things or negative things or self-destructive things, right? Well, I love that, Kacey. This is so amazing. And I guess, I don't know. I know I think I just have one more question before we're going to take a little bit of a break. Okay. So if people want to connect with your work, what's the best way for them to contact you?
I was thinking the best way is email me because I want to know who you are. So, and my email address, do I just dictate it here?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure,
I'll just say it and then spell it out for everybody. So it's Rodenbush, KM, at countyofmonterey.gov, RODENBUSH, KM, at COUNTYOFMONTEREY .gov.
There
Thank
you
you,
go,
everybody.
And we will post that somewhere on our website. Welcome back to Pride Perspectives Radio Show. I'm Cece Pinero. On today's show, we are speaking with Kacey Rodenbush and Sam Gomez, and the title of our show is Rainbow Connections and LGBTQ plus support in Monterey County. Welcome, Sam. Sam is the Deputy Director of the Epicenter in Salinas. And hi, Sam. Hopefully they're on the phone. Sorry if I misgendered you or mispronounced you earlier.
No worries. Hi, Cece. It's great to have to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And no worries. I appreciate you for that.
So, Sam, can you share a little bit about where you grew up, where you attended school, and what school was like for you?
Sure. So I was born and raised here in Salinas. I actually did spend some of my childhood in Spreckles. So I attended Sparkles Elementary School, then Buena Vista Middle School, and then later Salinas High School. But I did transfer to North Monterey County High School when I moved to Prunedale. So I did a little bit of, kind of moving around a bit. But I can say that school was a little difficult, especially during middle school, due to being outed by someone I considered a close friend, which kind of created a lot of mixed reactions. That was incredibly painful, made me feel like an outsider. So it was a tough time. I just was grateful to have support from friends who were able to, kind of help me through that. So it was a bit of a tough time, but, I'm grateful for where I'm at now.
So what year was that around?
That was around the early 2000s, so around 2007.
So still in the 2000s, and this was happening in Salinas, right here in our little California. Mm-hmm. So can you share a little bit about how you identify and, tell us your coming out story?
Sure. So I identify as queer and non-binary. My journey actually began in middle school. I, discovered my sexuality when I was in 7th grade. During my freshman year of high school, that's when I was outed by my a family member. And, that was a very difficult experience for myself.
So the family member, who did they out you to?
It was a cousin, and they outed me to my grandparents, which were pastors of a church. So as you can imagine, it was incredibly difficult, but, I kind of had to grow through that. And
did your grandparents confront you, or? Yeah,
so they did. And they did try to, pray the gay away, as they say, and it was a lot of pain, a lot of shame that I carried throughout school. But thankfully, I did have support from friends and my dad's side of the family, so that kind of helped me through.
Well, I'm sorry you had to go through that, and I'm really honored that you're sharing your story with us, and
Thank you.
Hopefully it's part of the healing journey that we all go through. So
Definitely.
Did you say you were born and raised in Salinas?
Yeah, so born and raised in Salinas. I did live in Sparkles for some of the time. I also lived in, east side of Salinas, and then I moved to Prunedale during my high school years. So just a little bit of moving around as I was navigating, my parents splitting up and kind of going half the time in Salinas, half the time in Sparkles, and then, going to Prunedale. So just a little bit all over the place.
And can you tell us a little bit how you ended up doing the work that you're doing?
Sure. So in 2015, a friend of mine who was actually one of the Epicenter's youth founders, shout out to Fernanda Ocaña, she invited me to a community event, and I just became inspired by the organization's youth-led approach and just the way it centered young people's voices. I then, that same year was invited to help create the queer and trans youth-led program, which is called Our Gente. And that opportunity just kind of shifted the whole direction of my career. What started as volunteering turned into more than a decade of work. So it's been an honor and a blessing to be able to work with these folks within the community.
Can you tell us a little bit about your college experience and what degrees that you ended up getting to work in your profession?
Sure. So I attended Monterey Peninsula College and received my associates in human services, and then transferred over to Cal State Monterey Bay to earn my bachelor's degree in collaborative health and human services with a concentration in social work. So I graduated in 2017. And, one of the things that I'm really grateful for was to be able to complete this degree while I was continuing my work with the Epicenter. So I started off as an intern and ended up, becoming staff on the Epicenter and, while pursuing my degree. So it was really, I was fortunate enough to be able to do that.
And your current position is Deputy Director of the Epicenter, and how long have you been doing that? How long have you been there?
So I became deputy director at the Epicenter in 2020 during the pandemic. So it was quite the journey for me to be able to, help oversee the organization, all while, navigating a pandemic. And so we were able to pivot and, do online programming. Also, we created a grocery delivery service program for folks in Monterey County who are in need. But, I've been really grateful for this journey and to be here, as deputy director, from a former youth participant to now, becoming deputy director has been, one of the biggest highlights of my life.
That is so great. I love that when there's opportunities for people to just, start at the beginning and just move their way up. Can you share a little bit about the work of the Epicenter?
Sure. So the Epicenter is a youth-led drop-in resource center, and we support young people from ages 14 to 24 as they transition into adulthood in Monterey County. So we connect youth to resources around education, employment, health and wellness, and housing, all while creating a welcoming space where they can build community, access support, and just be themselves. And so our goal is to meet young people where they are and help them build the future that they want. We also have a wide range of programming, including programs specifically for youth that are impacted by the foster care system, youth experiencing homelessness, drug and alcohol prevention programs, and our LGBTQIA+ support program for youth. In addition to that, we also have free on-site services with access to clothing, groceries, and hygiene products for youth in need of those resources.
Great. How does the Rainbow Connection program interface with your Epicenter program? Yeah,
so the Epicenter is a proud, we're really proud to be one of the community partners in Rainbow Connections. We support LGBTQ+ middle and high school students through school-based support, community programming, and youth leadership opportunities. So one example is our Youth Empowerment Council internship, which we co-facilitate with the Diversity Center. We are partners, creating affirming spaces where queer and trans youth can connect, develop leadership skills, and know that they have a community standing beside them.
And how long will this last? Earlier we heard from Kacey that their program's ending. Are you going to be able to continue some of this work?
That is the hope. That is the hope that we have. We are doing our best to seeing how we can continue, benefiting, LGBTQ youth beyond the life of the grant and making sure, we stay connected to these wonderful organizations, a part of Rainbow Connections. Working with all of them these past, years has been really amazing, and we're hopeful that we can be able to sustain it beyond the end of the grant cycle or the funding.
Great. Now, you might have touched on this, but can you give me some examples of how the program serves the needs of the LGBTQ young people and adults and those that support them and the students?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Rainbow Connections is all about making sure LGBTQ+ youth and their families have access to safe, affirming, and supportive care. So we do that by bringing together schools, behavioral health providers, our community orgs. We have a connected network, and we all stay connected. So if there's a need that comes through, whether it's a youth that needs peer-to-peer support or if they need mental health services, we all come together to be able to bring those, resources and services to those youth, whether it be one of our staff from the Epicenter going into the schools and, helping start a GSA or a club that supports queer and trans youth, or, it's, us making referral to Harmony at Home if they're experiencing bullying or if they need to create a club on campus that can help address those needs. So there's all different types of partnerships. Partners for Peace is also a really big piece for the parent support. That is really helpful because they do offer, support groups for parents and guardians of LGBTQIA+ youth who, if they're struggling to come to terms with it, or if they need to learn more, or, help other parents who are struggling, that piece is also there as well.
Can you tell me some of the highlights? What have been some of the highlights so far?
I think just seeing the impact on our youth in the community, it's amazing to see what happens when, organizations come together, in partnership with the Monterey County Behavioral Health. It's been a really beautiful partnership to provide these supports. And one of the, annual gatherings that Epicenter does is for our local gender and sexuality alliance clubs. We had that in April, and we had it at Toro Park, and it was just a beautiful sight to see all of the youth connecting with one another and experiencing queer joy and just seeing, themselves and each other and having, visibility and having those flags, having, just seeing themselves within that, and to know that they're not alone is really meaningful. So, those are the moments that remind me why this work matters.
Yeah, and that's so important. We all want to feel connection and not alone and part of something. It's really important for young people and for all of us. So if people want to connect with your work, what's the best way for them to contact you?
They can contact us by visiting epicentermonterey.org, or you can also call our office at 831-998-7291 and ask for Sam, or, any of our team members can help. So whether you're a young person looking for support or a parent or guardian, educator, or somebody who's interested in working with us, we'd love to connect. So definitely visit our website or give us a call.
Great. Now I'm going to ask both of you, what are some important things for people to know about the Rainbow Connections program and what about the Epicenter program? Is there anything that you both haven't touched on yet or that you would like everybody to know?
Do you want me to go?
I don't know. Okay. Go ahead, Kacey.
Okay, Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Kacey.
How's it going? So one of the things I haven't mentioned yet, so the final year, we're all of the direct services and supports that we've been providing all along will remain. There's two things that we're doing in this final year. One is building a digital blueprint that will be accessible in the public domain for anyone in the world to download all of the resources and materials that we've generated as a result of this money. So it'll be lessons for school teachers, it'll be guidance for parents, lots of training. I need to mention we have Dr. Jen Hastings who works with us regularly.
We love Jen.
Right?
Yes.
Jen has been a gift and has listened to my vision from early on and has remained by my side throughout. So thank you, Jen. And we have so much training. So we are creating this digital blueprint. We have a digital campaign on Instagram. So you can go to @Monterey County Behavioral Health one line, and that will show you our digital campaign, which is also all over our partners' handles as well. So Epicenter, you'll see the same digital campaign post on their Instagram. So that, and then the other piece is that we're building our network. So we want to grow it. We want any Monterey County organization that is affirming and feels confident in providing welcoming care for our LGBTQIA2S+ youth and their families to join us. And we have a way to do that. So I shared my email. We really want to build we already have this constellation of stars, and we want to shine brighter. So we want to have more agencies. We have our foundation of 6. And we're going to grow throughout this next year to add on more. So we've just onboarded our first 2 agencies, and then we're going to spend this last year also growing the network, because turns out once you make a connection with somebody, you can't take that back.
That's right.
So we want to make as many affirming connections across Monterey County as possible.
I love that because it's called Rainbow Connections,
yes.
Right? Oh, and what about you, Sam? Any important things you haven't touched on?
Just again, these services are free. They're inclusive, available to youth, families, educators, community members. So if there's anyone listening and interested in learning more, please, reach out to us. We would love to share about this.
Very good. Well, I want to backtrack a little bit to talk about, our coming out stories, sort of. And tell me, Sam, has anything changed in your family dynamic? Have your grandparents come around? Have you reconciled with the person that outed you?
Yes, absolutely. So the good news is it did get better for me. So my family is absolutely supportive. My grandparents, who were pastors of a church, actually turned around and, apologized in front of the whole church. And it was really huge. It was a really big moment for us to have my grandma, say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong. I love you, and it's not my place to judge you." And so I absolutely am so grateful that before she passed, she was able to, have that moment with me, be able to, just share that accepting love with me and share it in front of everyone. It was a really huge moment. So, I mean, it does get better, and I'm really grateful that, in my story, I was able to get the support.
That's really great for people to hear that it does
Yeah.
get better. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. That is amazing. So in front of God and everybody,
Yep.
they apologized to you. And that I'm
Yeah.
sure that there was, congregants that were surprised about that or maybe not, but it was such an important educational moment for everybody. And that's really, really amazing. And what church or what denomination was this church?
It was a Christian church called the Lighthouse, and so it was a very small, a lot of the family were a part of the church and just, neighboring communities, but it was located in the heart of East Salinas. So, it's definitely, my grandparents came a long way, and now they're, my whole family is supportive, so it's been amazing to have that journey with them.
Well, we'll give a shout out to the Lighthouse. There you are, East Salinas. You go.
Mm-hmm.
That is so
Thank
wonderful.
you.
And are they still doing that? You said your grandmother passed away. What about your
Yes.
grandfather?
My grandpa's still with us, yes, and I get to spend time with him as much as I can. And lately, he's been going through some health challenges, but he's still with us. So he's there, and he still shows a lot of love. So
Well,
grateful
tell
for
him
that.
we love him and we're proud of him
Oh,
for
thank
doing
you
this.
so
It's
much.
very, very important. He's changed a lot of lives by doing
Oh,
that, and
thank
so he has a life well lived. So,
Oh, thank you so
yeah,
much.
and
That
tell
means
him
a lot.
everybody in the world is hearing that right here and Case Quid Radio. How about any final thoughts from either one of you about all the various many things in our community that have come up today or this evening, this afternoon? Any final thoughts?
Sam, what would you say?
Oh, yeah. I would just like to remind everyone, even if one affirming adult in a young person's life can make such a difference, whether you're a parent, teacher, neighbor, or friend, take the time to listen, learn, and, support our LGBTQIA++ youth. It really makes a difference. It made a difference for me. And I would also like to just do a quick plug. The Epicenter will be celebrating our 12th anniversary on September 4th, and we'll be doing an open house at our new location at 10 Catherine Avenue. So please save the date. We're happy to invite anybody who is interested in coming and learning about the work that we do.
Great. Can you say that one more time so we can get it and the name of that street again?
Yeah. So Friday, September 4th, that is Friday evening, we will be having the Epicenter's open house and, a 12th anniversary celebration. So I hope you all can join us. It's going to be at 10 Catherine Avenue in Salinas.
And what time does it start?
It will be in the evening, I believe, around 5 p.m.
Okay. So very good. Thanks so much, Sam.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Casey.
And I just want to say I'm grateful for this opportunity to give voice to this life-affirming work and the opportunity that y'all gave us to just share, because when we share this, it goes out to people that may or may not be aware that things like this are available and that we actually can transform systems because we have done it.
We can transform
It's possible to
systems.
do. If you love and care about something enough, you can actually make it happen.
Well, thank you both for that. So now we're going to have a final quote, I believe, here. And we're getting close to the hour. So I'm going to read a quote from Mary Gardner Brainard. I would rather walk together in the dark than go alone in the light. At times, we feel as if we're living through a season of darkness. During the season of the year when days are short and there's literally less light, our feelings may seem to correspond with the darkness outside us. We may be grieving what's past or fearing what lies ahead. We may yearn for deliverance from our particular burdens. This season of darkness isn't hopeless, but it is real. We don't have to deny it. Whether darkness lies outside us or within us, we need to feel it fully, to feel our losses and griefs, the hurts we and others suffer, the weight of burdens we are still carrying. We need to face the truth that there are some aspects of our lives over which we are powerless. We can acknowledge darkness without letting it all be all there is. Now is the time to remember that life is precious, friends and loved ones are paramount, and a higher power is near and ever present. Now is the time to light a candle to remind ourselves that there is light as well as darkness. Today I can face darkness, knowing that it is not all there is. And for Sam's grandfather, I will add, and there is a God that is near and ever present. So, well, we're getting to the end of our show here, and I think there's just a few things that are happening in the future before we conclude here in a minute. The 61st season of the Cabrillo Festival of Contemporary Music, We the Dreamers, and includes many musical premieres and compositions by queer composers, July 26th through August 9th at the Civic Auditorium in Santa Cruz. A special queer meetup will take place on the final night of the festival on August 9th. Check out the Santa Cruz Pride website and learn how you can join the August 9th Rainbow Connection meetup as part of the Cabrillo Music Festival of Music. And August is Transgender History Month. Find all on our website, santacruzpride.org. Thanks again for listening, Pride Perspectives, conversations and stories to celebrate the LGBTQ plus culture and history across Santa Cruz and Monterey counties.
Up the misty mountain, wildflowers bind the ground. Down by the rushing river, force will wear those boulders.